All right, everybody, welcome to Forecasting with Friends. This is our daily Monday through Friday live weather show at 11 a.m. only here on our streaming platforms like Fox Local. I'm back today, back from having been out for a few days. I had finally, after 4 years of avoiding it, I got the virus. I got the dreaded virus. So, yeah, I've been isolated in a room for the last several days. Didn't even get a chance to really see the weather that much. But when everybody in my family, was gone from the house, I kind of got out of the room a little bit. It was homecoming week is the thing for my high schoolers. And the last thing I wanted to do was get them sick on homecoming week. So I made it through that. Everybody's fine. I didn't get anybody else sick. And now I'm not contagious anymore, but I still am being very cautious here at Fox 26. Because again, the last thing I would like to do is spread this to anybody because it wasn't really fun. I didn't have like a deathly, sort of sick case of it, but it really felt like a flu. It really felt like just getting the flu. So the bottom line is it's still out there and you'll still want to take all those precautions to protect yourself from it. All right, hey, speaking of precautions, everything is about to go downhill over in Florida. In fact, a state of emergency is in effect across much of the state of Florida beginning this morning as folks over there prepare for yet another hurricane. So there's a system in the Caribbean Sea that's just actually recently been upgraded to Tropical Storm Helene, soon to become Hurricane Helene, and it is expected to make landfall on Thursday, probably late Thursday, potentially as a Category 3 storm. So emergency operations centers will be opening this morning. Crews have been out checking and cleaning dozens of pumping stations to help handle any flooding that might be taking place. Now, also affected by the hurricane on the way is what is planned for launch over on the east side of the state from the Kennedy Space Center. So this is an update to this ongoing story. So help is on the way for the two astronauts who have been stuck in space since June. Two new astronauts, Nick Hague and cosmonaut Alexander Gorbanov, are set to launch on the SpaceX Dragon spacecraft this Thursday, weather permitting, taking off from Florida to eventually bring their fellow astronauts home. Now, the Dragon spacecraft can actually carry up to 4 astronauts, but only 2 of them are going because they need to save room to rescue the 2 other astronauts who have been stuck up there since June. Now, you may recall astronauts by the name of Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams arrived at the ISS. They were aboard the Boeing Starliner that had a helium leak and it had all kind of problems with it. They were only supposed to be up there for 8 days, and they've been stranded now for months. So Wilmore and Williams will join the 2 new astronauts, Hague and Gorbanov, to return to Earth. But here's the problem. Their mission doesn't end until February. So yeah, they saved them 2 extra seats on the spaceship, but unfortunately their mission, the new astronauts' mission, does not end until February. So they're going to fly back with them, the 4 of them, in February. That is quite the delay. Remember, they were supposed to be up there for 8 days. Instead, it's going to end up being about 8 months. So unbelievable. All right, well, I want to give you the latest on Helene, which is now a tropical storm, soon to become a hurricane. On this view, now I'm kind of a little bit partial that I'm showing you this view. This is a view from my alma mater, from Florida State University. The reason I'm showing you this is that this is very close to where the eye is expected to pass over of the eventual hurricane named Helene. In fact, it may even be a Category 3 hurricane by the time it gets here. It's unclear right now as to whether or not the eye is going to pass directly over Tallahassee, Florida, but it is going to get pretty close to it. So let's check it out. This is the latest advisory as of 10 a.m. from the National Hurricane Center. Now, the hurricane hunters were crisscrossing this storm all morning. I mean, they've been in it for hours and hours. So they found a closed circulation, meaning that it could be upgraded to a tropical storm. Maximum sustained winds right now about 45 miles per hour. It's moving a little bit erratically right now to the west and northwest at 12, but it should continue on that speed generally, and that'll quickly take it to the north of Cozumel heading into tonight and early tomorrow. as it's expected to strengthen to a hurricane. Now, the wild card in all of this is how quickly will it gain strength when it makes it there over the very warm waters of the eastern Gulf. We're talking about 85 to 86, maybe 87 degree sea surface temperatures there. So there's a lot of moisture to work with. And right now, the National Hurricane Center shows it strengthening to a Cat 3, which would be a pretty big deal. This would send a lot of storm surge into the west coast of Florida, including the Tampa-St. Petersburg area. And there's always an error. You know how we have a cone of uncertainty here where it could go either left or right? There also is error in strength. So it could be a little stronger, could be a little bit weaker, hopefully a little bit weaker. After making landfall late in the day on Wednesday or early Thursday, it moves inland and could actually still be a tropical storm as it makes its way by Atlanta coming up by the end of the week. Now, its effect on our area is going to be interesting. So this map shows us moisture levels. The darker green shows us the deepest moisture, and you're going to see this kind of brown color coming in. That's the dry conditions. So here's a look at noontime on Wednesday. Here is Thursday at 3 p.m. And you'll notice that we have this Category 3 storm pulling down a front on its west side, so that while Florida at that point on Thursday is getting slammed with storm surge, high winds, heavy rain, Texas is actually going to have this dry, very pleasant north breeze kicking in, and that should allow for some dry overnight temperatures or overnight conditions, allowing those temperatures to drop into the 60s overnight, and most likely some comfortable afternoons in the upper 80s with low humidity. This is the European model forecast, and as global models go, the Euro really is favored as sort of the gold standard. This is what the Euro is showing, and you'll find that it's very close to the Hurricane Center forecast. Here's Thursday at 8 p.m. when the storm should be making a very close approach to the west coast of Florida before moving inland there, and again bringing that chance for really heavy rain as far inland as places like North Georgia, the western sections of North Carolina and South Carolina. Here's the rainfall outlook for those areas as we head into Thursday and Thursday night with a wide swath of excessive rainfall or flooding threat across that part of the southeastern part of the United States. Now here in Texas, we're going to actually enjoy some pretty tranquil conditions. Here's a look again at the satellite view and the track here as it's been sort of bouncing around there, the Western Caribbean, over the last couple of days, and now has finally gotten its act together. And I'll leave you here with this view, which is the visible satellite imagery. And I'm sort of a little bit curious about that swirl that you see there in the middle part of your screen. That's a very low level circulation. Sometimes when these things are just in their infancy, just getting going, you can have sort of multiple swirls that form around the main center that forms. That one is actually moving to the southwest while the system itself is moving to the northwest. But I found that to be a really curious, kind of interesting feature. You'll see it coming out right there. So as we watch Floridians get ready for yet another hurricane, of course, we need to stay vigilant because we still have about another month of the Texas hurricane season left. And so to that end, John Dawson is going to be up after the break with another look at his hurricane gear test this time, and he is the master of this, the latest fancy flashlight that he has to help you get ready for hurricane season. So stick around, he'll be with us here in just a moment.
Well, hello, Forecasting with Friends. I'm meteorologist John Dawson. This is a special edition of the Hurricane Gear Test just for Forecasting with Friends. It's kind of the extended version, the uncut version, if you will. I'm excited because we get to talk about one of my favorite kinds of flashlights. And my favorite kinds of flashlights are right angle lights. I just can't seem to get away from a right angle light. You show me a right angle light like this, and I'm going to jump on it. I'm going to want to look at it. I'm going to want to add that to my flashlight arsenal. I don't know why. I just have an attraction to right angle flashlights. So I was excited when Streamlight came up with this one and offered to send it to me. This is their Survivor pivot, and the Survivor pivot has several different models available. And it mainly has to do with how you power the flashlight. This particular one that they sent me has a USB rechargeable battery, and we're going to look at that. So I think officially this is called the Streamlight Survivor Pivot USB, indicating that it comes with that USB light. So this is, again, it comes, and you can get them in an orange model, or they sent me a yellow one. And you can see here on this box that USB rechargeable battery. We're going to get that out in a minute. But also note that you recharge that by plugging it in to a cord. And so that's something that comes, again, with this box when they send it to you. So this is the light itself. First thing I just want to point out here is that right angleness of it is an articulating head. So this can, this is very helpful if you set this down and want to point your light somewhere and aim it somewhere. That's very nice. Plus, if you're just deciding, you know what, I don't want a right angle light, I want a regular light, you can kind of make it go straight there with that 90 degree angle, and you can have just a regular forward facing light. But again, I don't know why. Something about that 90 degrees, that right angle light, that I really kind of love quite a bit. Now, this light has a spot and a flood option, meaning the spot is this top LED right here, and it is used for reaching a distance. And it's impressive, by the way, how far this thing can really, the optics here are really well done. Streamlight always does a good job with their optics. And so even though the lumens on this are a little bit lower than what I would anticipate, that optics here that really projects that light and throws that light out for quite a distance. So again, this top LED is for distance, and then you'll notice here on the bottom there's another LED light. It's more squarish shaped, or quadrilateral in shape. This is a flood light, so it is made for area illumination. All the light controls are all handled by one button, this multifunction switch here. And it gets a little complicated because there are 6 light modes that it has. It has the spot, which can have a high and a low. Then you can have the flood, which has a high and a low. And then you can have a combination where both of them are turned on, high and a low. So let's see what we can see here with this. So it looks like we're starting out with that combination. You can see how both of the lights are turned on, and then you simply hold the switch down and it starts the cycle. That's the lower level. That's your spot bright, spot low, flood high, flood low, and then there's the combo again. So you just kind of hold that down and it continues to kind of roll through the different types of beams that it has at a different level. So I'm going to put it back on the combo low is where I'm going to hold it. I think that one shows up best on TV. You notice this little green light that came on with the switch? That's a battery indicator. So that's going to help give you an idea of how much battery you have going. The green will switch to a red if you have a low battery. So you always kind of want to be ready for that. So depending on which light setting that you have turned on, you're going to get anywhere from 3.75 hours of light up until 16 hours of light. That's the most that you can get. And a reminder, I want you to have 36 hours of light in your hurricane kits. And so if you have a flashlight like this that won't last for 36 hours on one set of batteries, then you're going to need to definitely have another set of batteries, or however many sets of batteries you need to get to that 36 hours of light, because that's what I want you to have in your hurricane kits. So in this case, this light on the lowest setting on that rechargeable battery has 16 hours of light. And so you're going to need either a way to recharge it, or more rechargeable, or some disposable. And this is what I want to show you right now, is that in the base of this, you open this up, and there's a little carriage here, or a cartridge that holds. This is that USB battery that comes with it. So I'm going to take that out just to kind of show you real quick. This is that rechargeable USB battery. It does use the micro USB charger, not a USB-C. It would be better, more universal if it was a USB-C, but it uses that micro sort of plug. So I'm not as excited about that, but that's something that you're going to have to deal with. So this will also hold, let me make sure I get these lined up right. This will also hold the disposable batteries. So I've got 3 here. It takes 3 disposable batteries. So you can load that up. I think you will have different run times and brightnesses once you have disposable batteries in here, but I do just want to kind of show you how that loads up, and then again your light comes back on automatically once you get that charge, so you can run that battery. Now I was curious, because I don't know the answer to this, to be honest, if this battery indicator will still work. Okay, it still does. So you can see you get that green light here indicating that you have a full charge. So of course what the most exciting part about all of this is that this also has the IP67 rating, which means it's waterproof. And note to anybody that wants to send me a flashlight, if you claim it's waterproof, there's a really good chance that I'm going to dunk it. I'm going to send it to the water, and we can all kind of get a look at it. It also means that I'm finished kind of doing a lot of handling of this light. But again, this is Streamlight. The name of the right angle light is the Pivot, the Survivor Pivot. As mentioned, it has that articulating head that will pivot up and down. That's partly why they're going to name it that, I think. And I do want to point out that the price of this light is right at $98. Streamlight makes what I would call professional grade illumination. They make equipment for firefighters and other first responders. They're very rugged. And as I mentioned, those optics, like on this one, are very good and high quality. So they make a very high quality product, and their prices are going to reflect that. So as I mentioned, this is priced at $98. It's the USB model. I do just want to point out some of the illumination that it has. I mentioned that that doesn't seem as high as what you would expect, but it really is impressive how much it throws that light. When you're on spot, you're going to get 325 lumens on high. On low, you'll get 80 lumens. On the floodlight, I'm sorry, I said that backwards. You're going to get 300 on the spot. You also get 300 on the flood, and then you're also going to get 70 when it's on low. It goes to 325 when you combine those together. That's the amount of illumination that you're going to get. So that IP67 rating is not just for waterproof, it's also for dust. And so it's very rugged as far as, you know, not needing to necessarily try to keep it protected or clean. It also has the 2-meter drop. If you want to drop it, a drop test, sometimes we do those. You can have that up to 2 meters that it can handle, and it should be able to handle up to 1 meter underwater for 30 minutes. So this little vase here that I have is not going to be any problem with it whatsoever. So again, it comes with this rechargeable battery, and it uses the micro USB connection, the cord, to recharge this USB battery. It does, that cord plugs in here. It does come in the box as well. So you're going to be able to have all, if you don't happen to have one of those micro USB. Like I said, I would have preferred a USB-C because that's a little bit more common overall. So I'm glad we had a chance to come on here and do a special edition of the Hurricane Gear Test just for Forecasting with Friends. As you know, if you watch any of my Hurricane Gear Tests, I always give it a rating on my Hurricane Kit priority scale. How important is it that this is in your Hurricane Kit? I'm going to make you wait. I'm not going to tell you my rating of this particular light. You can look it up on YouTube. It's always a great way to do it. Or we're showing the short version of this product review and the 5 o'clock and 9 o'clock newscast this week. We'll then do it again on the weekend, so you can catch it there on our broadcast side of things. But if you wait around a few more hours, you'll be able to find it on fox26houston.com, and then eventually, of course, it also goes to my YouTube channel. So that's going to be a great way if you want to follow up and see even more ideas like this on products that you might need for your hurricane kits. Go to my YouTube channel. So you're going to go to YouTube and you're going to search for Meteorologist John Dawson. Again, the easiest way to find me on YouTube is search Meteorologist John Dawson. You'll find my channel. There's a playlist there. It's got all of the Hurricane Gear Test for you, easy to find. Thanks for joining us, for checking in on this special edition of the Hurricane Gear Test. Now we're back to more forecasting with friends.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is what they call the calm before the storm. So this is actually a live view from Clearwater Beach, Florida, where it's beautiful. I mean, it's fantastic out there, but they are under a hurricane watch and a pretty significant risk here for storm surge flooding heading into Thursday afternoon, Thursday night. So this is where we have Tropical Storm Helene. At the same time, by the way, there's another storm, a Pacific storm called John. And that one is almost not moving at all. So Helene is moving at about 12 miles per hour this way. John is nearly stationary and has just been dumping water there over the southern parts of Mexico. And of course, there's mountainous terrain there and everything. So it really does cause some very hazardous conditions. All right, I want to share this with you. This is the forecast for Helene from our exclusive Fox model. And this one has been showing, along with the National Hurricane Center forecast, that it's going to zip by the Cancun and Cozumel area here and then start to intensify. So this is the time frame when it's going to have the highest likelihood to intensify. We're talking about late Wednesday into the day on Thursday, when it could start to get that really nasty looking, well-organized eye to it as it heads off toward the north. Now, this particular model is showing it moving in a little bit closer to around Apalachicola, Florida, which would put the center of circulation right over Tallahassee. The Hurricane Center forecast does have it moved over to the east a little bit. I wanted to show you that as Helene goes in on this side of the Gulf, we are going to have the complete opposite weather here in Texas. Nice, dry, refreshing air coming in from the north, and most likely about 3 mornings with low temperatures down in the 60s, with the coolest morning probably being Friday, when we could see some middle 60s. Hurricane watches are in effect for places like Tallahassee all the way down to where we just saw Clearwater, Florida, Tampa, Florida, and down to around Port Charlotte. So all of those locations closely watching. Remember that cone of uncertainty. Look, we learned it in Beryl. They've seen it a bunch of times over in Florida. Even if you're right on the edge of that cone, you have to watch. Even if you're outside of the cone, you got to keep watching it, because these things are big systems that affect a large area. 88 degrees right now here in Houston, and no wind either. So it's feeling pretty hot, pretty stuffy out there right now. Across the rest of the area, lots of 80s as well. Galveston's all the way up to 88 degrees. We should reach highs near 93, between 92 to 95 in most inland locations. And so we're going to start to see some storms popping up. Right now we have some scattered showers here south of Sugar Land, back over to around Rosenberg and Beasley, and then a little bit more persistent rain there stretching from Washington County, the Brenham, Chapel Hill area, back over to around Huntsville. None of that all that serious, but I do think that we are going to see more rain popping up as we head into the afternoon and evening. So that could affect your afternoon commute. It also could affect maybe if you're going to the Astros game, coming home from the game later on today. So scattered storms are in the forecast here, but we have some beautiful weather that we're going to be waiting for later on this week. I hope you'll stick around and join us for Fox 26 News at noon for the latest look at Helene.